This is the Xencelabs Pen Tablet Medium. It's the brand's first release and it looks to compete for the more professional market with thoughtful design and a great drawing experience. Let's take a closer look. Hello, Ryan here. So Xencelabs reached out to me asking if I'd be interested to review their Pen Tablet Medium. It's the first of their devices that I'm testing out, and I've been curious about them since they came into the scene about 3 years ago, because they're deliberately targeting the pro user and looking to compete with the likes of the Wacom Intuos Pro, which has been one of my main drawing tablets for the last number of years. What I've got here is the Pen Tablet Medium bundle, so it also includes their QuickKeys remote, which we're going to chat about shortly. While this is aimed at the more experienced user who is probably familiar with a device like this, if you haven't used one before, this is a screenless tablet where you're going to be looking up at your computer monitor ahead of you while your hand is drawing the tablet lying flat on the desk. Now let's get on to the contents of this bundle. First, you get the tablet. This is the medium size, which has an active area of roughly 10 by 6 inches and an aspect ratio of 16 by 9 to match more popular display resolutions. It also comes in a smaller size of roughly 7 by 4 inches. I really like the finish of this with two different textures, one for the drawing area and another slightly rougher for the frame. The surface has some slight tooth to it, quite similar to the Deco Pro that I reviewed in my previous video. I think this is just the right amount, not being too smooth nor too toothy, but perfect to have full control of your pen as you move across it. At the top are 3 customizable buttons. Now instead of trying to replace keyboard shortcuts, I see these as being more useful for things like opening up your tablet settings, switching between monitors, that kind of thing. Around the back, we have a Kensington security slot, a USB-C port either for charging or for a wired connection, and a power switch for wireless connection. On the underside, we have this metal alloy finish, there are rubber feet to prevent sliding around, and these slight indentations on the other side which make the tablet really easy to pick up and pack away. There's also this slight curve along the front, a sort of comfortable wrist rest. Then there's this really nice pen case, and inside we have not one but 2 pens. I like that we're seeing this from a couple of brands, including 2 pens that cater to the varied preferences of artists, but that they also let you customize them individually to use as 2 completely different tools with their own pressure curves and different pen button settings. We've got the standard broader pen with that tapered design. It's got 3 buttons, a feature I'm really starting to appreciate, and there's the slim pen, which only has 2 buttons. Both have erasers on the end, and they both have just over 8,000 levels of pressure sensitivity, 60 degrees of tilt recognition. We've got a USB-A to USB-C adapter and a wireless receiver, and there are some spare pen nibs, 6 standard and 4 felt ones for that extra bit of friction. The included glove feels well made. I like using these when I draw, especially when traveling in warmer climates. Then we have the remote. Now, instead of a full set of buttons being along the side of the tablet, as many graphics tablets do, Xencelabs have decided to create their own QuickKeys shortcut remote for those who like to use a device like this off to the side. Many artists prefer to use their keyboard for shortcuts, so I like that this is actually an optional thing rather than having space and functionality wasted on the body of the tablet. It's a nice solid remote with a big physical dial at the top and a total of 8 customizable buttons running along either side of this OLED display, which shows exactly what each key is programmed to. It reminds me a bit of the old Intuos 4. The dial can have up to 4 functions, which you can cycle through by pressing on the button in the middle. And with the shortcut buttons, you can actually have 5 different sets or layers per application, depending on your current workflow. These sets are cycled through using the button at the bottom. So yeah, a nice remote, quite versatile, and I can see this being quite useful for a lot more than just drawing and painting. When it comes to cables, you've got USB-A to USB-C cables for connecting and charging both the tablet and the remote. As someone who travels frequently enough, I was really glad to find that there is this really nice carry case included. It fits the tablet perfect, has this really soft lining on the inside, and space for everything else, the pen case, the remote, the cables, all of it. Onto the driver, you'll have to download that first before getting stuck into your next artwork. The settings application here gives a really great user experience. It's very well designed. This is where you can tweak all the settings of your tablet, like what the 3 buttons on the tablet do and how the tablet is mapped to your monitors. If you have a multi-monitor setup, the pressure curves for the pens can be customized, as can the buttons on each of them. And of course, there's the QuickKeys remote. The tablet is wireless and said to have about 16 hours of battery life. I didn't specifically test this, but it sounds about right based on my usage. And to preserve battery, you can adjust the sleep timer in the settings application. Something I also noticed was that when creating a new settings profile for Clip Studio Paint, it automatically loaded a preset for it. So if you don't really know what to assign each button to do, this can make for a really good starting point. Overall, great job on the UX UI design here. All right, let's get into the more important stuff, like how it performs, what is the pen response like, what is the quality of the line like. I've got Clip Studio Paint open over here with a slightly adjusted G pen, with only the size set to change with pressure. And the first lines feel good. The response to the pressure is smooth and accurate, or predictable, I should say, which is what you want from something like this, predictable behavior. Going from thin to thick and back to thin is perfect. Keeping consistent pressure is easy as well. Slow diagonals look good with the tilt and pressure deactivated. With the pressure on, I do notice some slight wobble, which could be due to my hand or not having the smoothest edge on my makeshift ruler over here, but a touch of stabilization solves that anyway. And as a painter, this is really less of a concern as well, and this is some really wild pressure response that's quite unexpected. Fast lines also look good. When it comes to doing light lines, it needs very little pressure to start registering a mark. With only 3 grams of initial activation force required, I can hold the pen further back and sketch quite loosely. All those lines will appear. As I've mentioned in other videos, for me this is a way more important spec, how low the initial activation force is, rather than the number of pressure levels. And here, that initial activation force is really good. I'm very impressed. Doing some more normal sketching here of a couple of ideas. I've got the slim pen in hand. It's quite light at only 12 grams, lighter than the 20 grams of the Apple Pencil, but similar in thickness. I actually kind of like this. Normally I go straight for the thicker pens, but this does feel more pencil-like for me and ideal for that sketching phase of the painting. Moving on to some painting, I'm going to be staying in Clip Studio Paint here and grabbing the broader of the 2 pens. This is just a bit more comfortable for those longer painting sessions, and of course you have the added functionality in the 3rd pen button. This may not seem like a big deal, but I'm actually finding that it's kind of nice to have. I have my front button set to my eyedropper via right-click, so I can also open up my layers menu. My middle button is for the hand tool, so I can pan around the canvas easily. And the 3rd is for resetting my viewport. I've also put in one of the felt nibs here. This gives a bit more friction on the drawing surface. And which nib to use is really going to be a personal preference thing. Some people like a bit more tooth, others prefer a more smooth, glidey experience. What I am struggling with a bit here, and perhaps it's just that initial phase of getting familiar with the devices, is just how much I have to look down at the QuickKeys remote to see what I've programmed a specific button to, or what function is currently active as I cycle through them with the dial. I'm generally not a fan of cycling through functions, which is why I prefer something like my toolbox, which lets me pair a button with a dial to modify its function, rather than cycling through a full range of them. Xencelabs does let you disable the additional sets and dial functions if you don't want to use them. So you don't have to cycle through inactive sets or functions, for example. Other than that, I have no issues here. The pen feels great, it responds as I expect it to, and I'd say the experience is on par with what I'm used to from the Intuos Pro. So let's talk a bit more about this comparison between the Xencelabs Pen Tablet and its direct competitor, the Wacom Intuos Pro. The experience of drawing and painting feels much the same to me. However, the sensitivity of Wacom's pen is still superior with only 1 gram of initial activation force. That said though, 3 grams for the Xencelabs pen here is still really low, and it handles light strokes very well. The Intuos Pro has their touch ring and express keys built onto the tablet, while the Xencelabs separates those into their QuickKeys remote as a separate purchase or as an included thing with their bundle. Wacom also has a good remote, but that adds substantially more to the price. The Intuos Pro supports multi-touch, though I know a lot of people disable this, and it also adds quite a bit more to the price. Wacom's actual express key buttons are sensitive to touch, and just by placing a finger on one without pressing it will give an indicator on screen about which button your finger is resting on, which is quite useful, especially as you're getting used to your tablet. With the Xencelabs remote, I have to look down at the remote to know, to be sure, what I've programmed a specific button to. Xencelabs offers multiple sets of shortcuts that you can cycle through depending on your current workflow, which is quite nice, but Wacom gives you the option of on-screen menus for more shortcuts. Xencelabs doesn't give that, but perhaps it's another thing that could come fairly easily with a driver update in future. So wrapping up, I'm very impressed with the pen tablet medium from Xencelabs. The build quality is really good, the pen experience is great, and right from opening the box in the beginning to the design of all the contents inside, and even the driver settings application, you can tell that Xencelabs have put a lot of thought into the design of their product and of the experience for the artists who are going to be using them. Again, just looking at how this fits in terms of price, you've got the Deco Pro, which we looked at in my last video from their sister company, XP Pen. This is quite a bit more affordable and also gives a really good drawing experience. On the other side, there's the Wacom Intuos Pro, and it costs quite a bit more, and this has been considered pretty much peak graphics tablet for a long time. Xencelabs fits in the middle here. You're getting a more premium feel to everything over the Deco Pro, which was also released more recently. And put next to the more costly Intuos Pro, it's definitely difficult to justify spending that much more for an experience that is very much the same. You're actually getting a lot more value with the Xencelabs bundle with the included QuickKeys remote and this really nice carry case. So yeah, I have no hesitation in recommending this if you are someone looking to upgrade or perhaps replace your current Pro tablet. If you're interested, you want more info, check the description below for links. For now though, I'm going to get back to work on this painting. I'll see you all again soon.